Stephanie Conway has gone viral on TikTok, sharing her life with her autistic brother, Drew. Millions have watched their story. But this conversation, it's personal. I've known Stephanie's family since before she was born, and when we sat down together, we talked about something that hits very close to home for both of us, brothers, special education, and how much it's changed and how much it still needs to. Drew got services, supports, and opportunities that transformed his life. My brother, he didn't have those same chances. So we talk about the differences. And this is Stephanie's story, and in some ways, it's mine too. I am Tracy Lynn, and this is Queued Up. This is Queued Up, where we amplify the voices of educators with the science, soul, and story shaping education. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, Stephanie. It's been a long time.
Tracy, thank you so much for having me. When you first asked me to come on, you have no idea how excited I was.
I can't wait. I've been talking about it, leading up to it, and there's a reason. I mean, we have known each other,
Girl,
your
we have some
entire life. Yes. Yes. But we're not here to talk about how old I am. We're here to talk about your life and what's been going on in it. So I just happened to get on TikTok the other day, and actually it's been about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And I looked and I was like, that's Stephanie. And I started watching. And so that's how I realized that you had figured out a way to take your own personal story with your brother, Drew, and take it to the next level so that you could share the uniqueness and beautiful individuality about Drew. So I want to talk to you about that, being a sibling of Drew and how that has all played out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things that you and I have always had a close bond about, is having siblings that have special needs and are autistic. And I've always looked up to you in so many ways of just your drive and motivation. So like I said, I don't think I could have picked a better person to ask me to be on their podcast.
I'm serious. I have been so excited.
Well, thank you.
So you mentioned that Drew has a disability, and that's how our connection. I had a brother that had a disability as well. He was my older brother. Drew is your older brother.
Yes.
So many similarities.
So many.
Yeah.
And just, we've talked about before that interesting dynamic of being the younger sibling,
Right.
yet having to implement a lot of older sibling acts into your everyday life.
Yes.
So it's just kind of different, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right. Yeah. And it's like my sister, I have another sibling besides my brother. She often talks about like she was the younger sibling and the first sibling, oldest sibling, all wrapped up into one. Have you felt like that before too?
Absolutely. And especially in public. When we were kids, of course, I was shorter than Drew. You could just tell I was younger.
Easy.
But now that we're both adults, it's a little bit different from the standpoint of, because I'm the one driving him around. I'm the one who's cutting up his steak. Things like that.
Right.
People automatically assume I'm the older one. And I'm like, I'm the baby. I want my moment to be the baby.
Right.
But then again, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And I'm going to actually ask questions about that. Oh, because it's interesting being a sibling and how that all plays out. And I know I need to ask the questions I have written down here, because if I don't, we will talk for like the next 5 hours.
Yes.
And I won't have covered it in interviews. So let's talk about this. On TikTok so far, and by the way, are you on other platforms besides TikTok, or is that where your main
is TikTok, and then we're hoping to expand in the future.
Okay. So that's where I've been seeing everything. So you've shared so many of those special, joyful moments with Drew online. And when you think back, what's a story that instantly captures who he is and your bond as siblings?
There's a couple of them. The first one being, and this is the video that kind of started it all, that went viral. So it was a Sunday afternoon, totally normal. I was hanging out at my parents' house, and we had some fried chicken. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Here we go. Drew was eating his chicken, and he gets out his own paper plates. And so somehow I was like, what the heck? I opened up the cabinet, and I found a whole piece of chicken stacked on the paper plate
Inside the cabinet.
inside the cabinet. And I said, hey, mom, come here. And this is another thing I love about my mom, too. She comes over. She's like, what do you want now? So she opens the cabinet, sees the chicken, looks at me and goes, did you do this? And I'm like, you know what? At least you're keeping it fair. And I was saying, no, who do you think did this? And then you see Drew over in the corner on the couch, and he's like, Oh, no. And that just kind of wraps up not only just my sibling and I, but just our family dynamic, the instant joy of life's unpredictable moments with him.
Yes.
So that's one of them. Another one is, and what's strange is I didn't even think twice about it because that's just been my life. It is.
Right.
But I posted a video and I didn't do it for praise. And so at first I'm like, oh crap, people are praising me and I don't want it.
Right.
But I went ahead and kept it up just because I also am thankful. But it just brought to my attention, it was a video of me cleaning off Drew's hands every time after he eats. Because although he is capable of doing it himself, there are times he misses, or especially if we're not at home. And I was like, wow, yeah, I guess that is a special bond.
Yeah.
Because he's so thankful that I do that for him.
Right.
And I'm almost 28 and he's 32. He's 32.
I was trying to remember. I was like, I think he was born in 91.
Sorry, I should know, but I don't. But yeah, it's just, again, being that younger sibling, but doing older sibling tasks, especially in our adulthood, really describes that bond. Absolutely.
And speaking of like my relating, there are some differences though, because one of the things I wanted to be able to talk to you about is education. And so I am significantly older than you. And my brother never got to attend public school because when he was born, we didn't have a public law. That public law 94-142 didn't exist. And so he didn't get to go to school. He didn't get to do a lot of things that every other child was doing. But by the time you all were born, your brother was born, that public law was in effect. And so one of the things I really wanted to like get your perspective on is, how do you think that impacted Drew's life, impacted your family life, the dynamics there? What were the benefits of that?
When I tell you, there are so many teachers that changed Drew's life. Drew would not be the man he is today without those teachers. And it's not even just teachers, it's many people in education, whether that's a para, whether that was a coach at a school who made him feel included, whether it was teachers telling other students to befriend Drew. Not that they wouldn't have done it naturally, but just giving that little
encouraging and
absolutely
looking for inclusion.
Absolutely. And so when I tell you, don't get me wrong, there were some not so great moments, and we can discuss that as well. Teachers are vital to these, at the time, children's lives, turning them into functioning adults of society.
Absolutely.
And as somebody who lives it every single day, the gratitude that not only I have, but my family has for educators, I mean, there's no words. I know we're on a podcast to talk about it, but there's no words to explain what an impact these educators make.
Yeah. And I know when we were chatting before, we were talking about how as siblings, sometimes you wanted to get in there and just fight, and want to defend and all that kind of stuff. And I can remember I wasn't very old when Drew was school age, like when he was in elementary school. I was in college and I was learning a lot about IEPs and advocating. And then he was a little bit older. And so I was a teacher. And I remember talking to your mom and getting really frustrated and wanting to go in and just, that sister. Did you ever have moments like that where you're just like, oh, I want to.
Oh, yes. I will never forget. And it still makes me mad to this day. It had nothing to do necessarily with any educators, but I remember hearing from a friend. So again, my brother and I are about 5 years apart. So I remember hearing from a friend that their older sibling told them that one day Drew was at lunch and he had some mashed potatoes on his hat. It happens. He, when you eat, things get a little messy sometimes. And kids are making fun of him.
Ooh.
It took everything in me not to go be like, who is doing this, and I'm not okay with it.
Throw down.
And like I said, we've always had that in common, that just protectiveness. And I know that's carried you very much in your career to still have that.
Oh, yeah. And the thing of it is like as siblings, we kind of get into that fight mode. We feel like we got to step in and fight. And I know you do as a parent too, because I'm a parent now. But your mom was always so gracious. Even when, like you mentioned, maybe they weren't always the best positive story, but she was always so gracious to the educators. And that meant a lot to me, even though I wanted to fight them.
I think her standpoint a lot, and of course I don't want to fully speak on her behalf, but these are the moments that I've taken away from her. Everybody does have their own story, What if they're having a bad day?
Yeah.
What if the educator just doesn't know yet? What if she can be the person that uses grace and compassion to help teach them and fuel them to be a better educator?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of parents should battle for their kids and fight and stand up, but I think that's something that I've taken away from her, is just being able to fight with grace at the same time.
You know what? Both of your parents have always been full of grace. That is the way I would sum them up. And I think that it's fun, since I know them personally, and then getting to see them through the short clips and things you're doing. I mean, just like you said, the chicken. There was grace for Drew, because she's like, did you do it? You know, I mean, like, she's not making any assumptions. She's not making any judgments. And I love that that shines through.
Well, thank you. I know they've always been appreciative of people like you, though, as well, from the standpoint of you have never once judged them for the way they parent. Because parenting is hard regardless if your child has special needs or not. Now, while I may not be a parent, I can still vouch for that. I know that's got to be difficult. But it's people like you who are like, you know what? Even if I wouldn't have made that exact same decision as a parent, I still think you're doing the best you can.
Right.
So it says a lot when they have a support system of people like you who just have grace as well. And the urge to fight.
Yeah. I'm like, we can be nice or we can fight. Which one do you want to do? I'm okay. Yeah. And I know that you and I are similar in that. Like,
Yes.
okay, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that sibling lens, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, growing up alongside Drew, what are some ways his needs shaped your childhood?
Absolutely. So one thing that always kind of stuck out in our childhood was discipline. And this is hindsight 2020. At the time, I was like, this is great. But because Drew was the older sibling and his discipline looked very different, I got off the hook a lot.
Oh.
So his need for discipline, and of course my parents, just like any other parents, learned along the way, right?
Sure.
But that was something that was very interesting to me looking back. One of his punishments was he loves soda. He was getting his soda taken away. And so I actually had a recent conversation with my parents about this. I'm like, wait, I got my soda taken away, but that's not like a quote normal punishment.
Yeah.
But they wanted to keep it fair to their kids. So in that was something that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have 3 kids. I never took soda. I mean, like, I never even thought of it. Like, took their soda away. They didn't care enough about soda to take it away.
Right.
It was like, yeah.
But what was so weird is I learned to make it a big deal because that's what I had watched for so long. Was soda was, oh my gosh, if it gets taken away, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting. Another thing growing up, something that he absolutely needs is a lot of reassurance. And so I have had to learn that when somebody is asking you constantly, are you mad at me? Are we happy today? Are you doing okay? It's sometimes not because I'm giving off a vibe. It might be because they're struggling to read me.
Yes.
And so I've had a lot of patience now and grace when somebody's asking me that. I'm like, this has less to do with me, more to do with you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
You've
figure it
learned
out.
so much from that sibling lens.
So much.
And do you find, when I did like the Clifton strengths or whatever, one of my strongest gifts, or whatever you want to call it, with strengths, I guess, is I'm an includer. I can't handle it. If we have a room full of people and I see somebody sitting in the corner, I have got to go and make sure they feel included. And I know that comes directly from my brother. Do you have?
Oh my gosh, Tracy, I just had an epiphany. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So that is something that I never even thought about. But not that I want to sound like I'm getting all these compliments, but anytime, whether it's in the workplace or friendships, is, wow, you really want everyone to feel included. That exact word.
Yes.
I never put 2 and 2 together. That's what that stems from.
Because, listen, I've never actually been in a fight. I just get angry enough sometimes that I think I want to fight. But I couldn't stand the thoughts of somebody not including my brother.
Wow.
So it's my job.
Absolutely.
I include everybody.
Which is why everybody feels so safe and included when they're around you.
Yeah. And so you've experienced the same thing.
Yes. I don't know why it's just now hitting me, but here I'm learning from you today that, that's exactly, because you and I both also are not shy. We don't have a problem walking into a room and making a statement. Don't really care what a lot of people think. But we want those who are not able to do that for themselves we can just kind of bring them into our little pod. So
I don't want to alienate people. I want everyone to know if you're being kind and loving, you got a place here. And if you're not being kind and loving, I still have grace for you. But I still want you to be included. But I also will, especially if you're saying something towards somebody who's not as able to defend themselves, I'm going to say something.
Yes, and I've always admired that about you, because I've never seen you, like you said, in a fight. But when it comes to standing up for somebody, I'll have you in my corner any day, because you know how to do it and you know how to do it right.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Nobody's gonna mistreat Drew when I'm around. We're going to be good.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start realizing how much having a sibling with a disability does shape who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just taught me that, though, and I just helped me have my own epiphany.
You know what? I love doing these podcasts because I learn something every single day. It's like,
I believe it.
I didn't know that,
Absolutely.
So we talked about the way it shaped your childhood, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit, but little adjustments. Were there hidden sacrifices or little adjustments that you had to make personally?
Yes. I'll give you some examples, and then I'll just kind of tell you my breakthrough. And this is, sometimes it sounds so stupid, but it's also, I mean, it's valid. So Drew turned 16, and being the older sibling that he was, I had friends who had older brothers, and they got to drive their sisters around. And I was like, oh, I don't get to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I started to feel sorry for myself, because if he was 16, I would have been, like 11. And I'm like, dang, that sucks. And then I had this whole moment. Oh, no. God said to me, because I had a little conversation with God. And at a young age, he said, you are so meant to be his sister. And I said, okay, let's do this. And then, don't get me wrong, we still fight. We still, normal sibling stuff. Yeah. But that moment stuck out to me so much, because I'm like, okay, yeah, I am. And if anybody can handle him, if anybody can handle the life, if anybody can help catapult him, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, there was a sacrifice at first. And then I said, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Life could be worse. And here we are. One thing I did have to sacrifice kind of when I became more of an adult is, if you think about it, typically the first child, and I know we live in a world of a lot of non-traditional homes, but my parents are married and, the boy, girl. So in a certain sense, we did have a traditional family home. The first oldest sibling breaks that family a little bit away when they go to college or something like that.
Yeah.
And I had to almost carry some guilt with me, because I was the one breaking the family dynamic when I moved out.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
And I was the one that caused some sadness. They were so happy for me, don't get me wrong. But I was the one. And so there was a little bit of guilt there. And two emotions can coexist.
Yeah,
but
that's true. That's a hard one for me, but
it is
still learning that one.
You and me both.
Yeah.
But it was just such an interesting way that our family shaped, and I carried a little bit of guilt with that. And even, back to my childhood, this isn't necessarily a sacrifice, but I carried a lot of guilt for a long time for being the normal child. Quickly learned there ain't nothing normal about me either. And that's why we get along so well.
Yes, I mean, yeah, exactly. Well, so I didn't have that dynamic because I did. So there's only 2 kids in your family, but there's 3 in mine.
Right.
So I was still the youngest of the sibling set. Like, my sister moved out first, who did the sadness thing. She moved out to college, and then we were all sad because our family dynamic changed.
Right.
So when I went to do it, it had already been done. So that's that traditional kind of model you're talking about, like the older person moved out and moved on. And yeah.
Do you find that you and your sister, when you're talking about your childhood experiences, do you find a lot of similarities in that? Or because she was, 3 years older than you, or is 3 years older than you, she remembers things differently?
She remembers a lot of things that I didn't have to experience.
Do you ever feel guilty about that, or no, it's okay?
It's not necessarily guilty, but there is a little hint of sadness because she experienced more grief than I did. And this is another area that our stories differ. Your brother still lives at home with your mom and dad and all of that. So my brother, his behaviors and challenges were so significant that when he was little, he was placed in a residential placement. So that all happened before I was born. And my sister experienced all of that. So she actually went through the grieving process in lifetime. And it just was always that way. So I didn't grieve. I didn't know life different.
Right.
Yeah.
Do your parents, even after Shannon was placed, was he still an everyday topic of discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Or was, okay.
Yeah. He was very much a part of our lives. We visited all the time. Yes, it was. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate, because my parents kept him as a part of us, even though he didn't get to live in our home. So,
and then does your sister, because he would have been 6 and she was 3, right, when he was placed, does she have memories of him at the house?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she has very vivid memories. And
are those positive memories?
they are positive.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that she has the positive ones too.
Yeah, but she did go through, she was 3 when he got placed. And she couldn't understand why he got placed. And she would ask my parents if they were going to send her away when she would get big too. Wow. So she had a lot of fears. So, we know fear now turns into anxiety and all of that. So
yes,
that's, she overcomes. She had a lot of fear and then anxiety. That's how it's translated to her in life. But there was still so much joy and excitement. And we see life so differently. And that's what I love about what you're doing right now and how you're being able to focus in on Drew, because there is so much joy. And so thinking about your sibling life and growing up, what are some of those things that now you can look at and go, that's joy that other people didn't get to have because they didn't have Drew in their life?
Yeah. There was so many moments growing up, but also kind of flipping a little bit, because we call him our Peter Pan. He's never going to grow up.
Yes.
So they're in my everyday life right now. Our whole family looks at it like this. There is so much joy in somebody who still gets to experience the world in an innocent way. And while, yeah, that gets freaking hard sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, oh man, I'm tired. I know my parents are, it's just tiring. When you've been a caretaker for 32 years, like they have, they're tired. But there is so much joy in knowing that somebody has that childlike heart for the world. So sorry not to start tearing up, but that is something I'm honestly a little jealous of sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though my life is so good and I'm so blessed, but he gets to have that. I don't want to say naive,
it's true joy.
Yes.
It's just seeing life through the lens of pureness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other piece of that was like, did you have unexpected freedoms too because of growing up with Drew? Which, you talked about like discipline was different in your house than it was other houses. And
sure did. I got out of so many chores. And again, I had this recent conversation with my mom. She's like, we probably should have done a better job of like making you do chores, because I didn't have chores growing up. I never did dishes. I never did laundry, but I had responsibilities. And so I almost feel like it worked out better for me, because it kind of helped shape my career in being wanting to be the hard worker.
Sure.
But Drew never did the dishes. Drew never did the laundry. Drew never did this. And so they never felt right about making me do it, because they never wanted me to resent him or them.
That is pretty amazing. And let me tell you, that's not the way my mom viewed it. She did not. I did chores. I didn't do them very well, but I did them. I had them.
I mean, I did have responsibilities. It wasn't like I just got off the hook.
Yeah.
But it was, Steph, can you, for dinner, please help Drew cut up his chicken? Steph, can you do this to help your brother? So that way it wasn't, Steph, go do a bunch of chores while we, quote, baby or take care of Drew. So in that sense, yeah, I got off the hook quite a bit with the discipline. But my parents also did such a wonderful job of being able to say, okay, this is a moment for Steph, and Drew's not going to take that away from her. But also, this is Drew's moment, and Steph, you're not about to take that away from him.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
It was really cool.
Yeah, and again, with my dynamic of my brother not living in the home when I was born and growing up, those things changed, so I didn't have some of those similar experiences, but I do recognize now of the experiences that I did have, I've actually learned it through counseling, and I had variety of reasons to do counseling, but one of the things I discovered was a lot of my fears and anxieties came from scenarios and situations I experienced with my brother and the way the world was treating him, and it impacted me in wonderful ways, and then in significant ways, that were not wonderful.
Can you tell me an example or a story of one of those times?
Yes, I can remember this vividly. I was 7 years old, and we went to take my brother back where he lived, and he always loved going back. And he started having a meltdown. We didn't call them meltdowns then because we didn't nobody knew that term, but
Yeah.
didn't wanna go back. And he got so upset that he started kicking and flailing about in the car, and he kicked the windshield, and it splintered. And I'll never forget that my dad had to go get help to get him inside the building because he was so upset. And my brother never spoke in full sentences. That was another thing. He was pretty delayed in that area. But on that day, he named a worker and he said that so and so hit me, so and so kicked me, so and so bite me.
Wow.
And then I watched men carry my brother back inside. And then I watched my parents come to the car and sit and cry because they didn't have any options. And what was significant about all of that in my discovery through counseling was I used that story. I mean, I've dedicated my life to advocating for people with disabilities and teaching other adults how to engage and work with people with disabilities. And I'd told that story again and again and again, and I can tell it without crying. It's what happened. But through counseling, I was sharing that story, and it was the first time. I mean, I broke down and sobbed because I was like, wow, that changed everything about me. I was 7, and I can tell you the car ride home. I can tell you the conversation my parents had. I can tell you, that was the only time one of the first times I ever saw my dad cry. I've only seen it like 3 times. So impactful. So those are the pieces that have impacted me in significant ways, good ways. Same scenario, catapulted me into the career, I believe, and also catapulted me into anxiety as well.
Mm. You said that you broke down in therapy or counseling. How old were you when this breakthrough happened?
Oh, that was just like 3 years ago.
So you carried that from 7 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's a long I had no idea. I just remembered it as a part of my childhood. It was something that happened. And I mean, I could get emotional about it when I was, when I would really think about what it was, it would hurt me. But that day, it broke me, and I realized that it broke me at 7, and I just stuffed it for 40 years.
Yeah. I'm proud of you though, because being able to take those moments and dissect them like you have and realizing how impactful the hardships and the positives out of it,
Yeah.
but you've done it. And it's like, thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, that's amazing.
It is definitely impacted me, and that's one of the reasons I get such joy watching you and Drew, because my brother did pass away in '95. It's been a long time, so I don't have that connection with him anymore, so when I get to watch how you 2 are interacting, and thank you. Thank you for posting, because I used to get to see you guys a lot more, and I don't see you as much, everybody's busy and things, but I love seeing that glimpse into your lives and seeing Drew in his beauty. He's nothing but beautiful to me.
Well,
I just adore him.
it's been so fun for multiple reasons. One of them being, I love my brother. That's my baby. Don't get me wrong. He's still, I'm his biggest bully and he's my biggest bully. Like, we're still siblings.
I was gonna say, you're supposed to be siblings, right?
But that's my baby. And I was so nervous and hesitant to share him with the world for a very long time. Not because I wanted to hide him, not because I was embarrassed, but I wanted to protect him. We talk about
Yes.
that. I never wanted anyone to be mean, rude over things he can't help, but I took the risk and I was like, you know what, let me just share a little glimpse. And now the world, oh, now they love him the way I love him. And that brings me joy. And people have been so kind. And I'm so thankful. Like, I have so much gratitude in my heart for the acceptance that people have shown towards not just me, but my entire family and Drew specifically. So I'm very grateful. And it's also led me to opportunities like this to be able to speak on and be, like you, an advocate for those who may not be able to be advocates for themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, he is
funny.
comedic. I mean, he tries to be funny and he is funny. So that was even adds an element to it.
Absolutely.
I just love seeing it. I can't wait. I mean, every time you release another video, I'm like, hey mom, did you see the new video?
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
so it's fun. So did you ever feel like people only saw Drew's diagnosis and not the full sibling dynamic?
Of course. Of course. I dealt with that for so long. And one of the things, too, when it comes to his disability and being autistic is you can't fully ignore it, but you can't make that the only thing you see. And
Sure.
so that was always a struggle because sometimes I always just saw him, he's just Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the autism, forget anything else. He's just Drew. But the world, and we've come a long way with society, so I'll give society credit. We still have a long way to go, though. Being able to embrace him and embrace the autism while still treating him normal and making him feel included just like everybody else.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that, or how did you deal with that? But also, how do you deal with that in the educational world?
I think it was just a completely different dynamic for me because I didn't have that daily life with him. So I didn't get to experience a lot of those things.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that I kind of translated all of my students into my brother. Like it was this might be the most challenging student I had ever had. But in my mind, he represented my brother. So I didn't care how tired I was or how hard the strategy was or had the support that we had to give. He was going to get the best, so there was just a different dynamic. Yeah. So how did you hold both the pride and the weight of being Drew's sister?
I, for a very long time, hid the weight. Earlier I kind of talked about the weight of feeling guilty for being the normal sibling. There was a lot of weight associated with me actually getting mad at him because I'd feel very guilty right after.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But also, it's so normal to get mad and frustrated. Like,
That's anyone you're living with.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, it does not matter. I got mad at my kids,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So that
impact
definitely was a struggle. And I've had to learn to just take what I have, which is a lovely support system and a voice that I know how to use, and turn this ship around and say, no, we're not feeling sorry for ourselves anymore. In fact, we're going to take the power and the just ability to be loud, which is not always a good thing. But for this, I'm like, thank God
100% it's a good thing now. Yeah.
Yes, it's a good thing now.
Let
Can
me
I
ask
actually ask you a question real quick? Okay,
please.
so this is something I was always curious about. How did Shannon, because he moved out before you were around, how did Shannon react, and how did you guys and your parents make the transition for him, bringing a whole new life that
He was not about me. He was not. He was not about me. My sister, he remembered my sister. She held a place in his heart. You could tell that there was that bond. And he cared about me. And I know he loved me. He showed me in a different way. But he would say, he didn't, like I told you, he didn't have a whole lot of words and things. But he would say things like, you big horse. And so he'd say, you big horse. And he would call me that every time I got close. He's like, you big horse. There was definitely a different bond, but we had a bond.
Right.
But I don't know how they introduced me. I'm sure it was kind of like, ta-da, baby, here we are. But yeah, it's different.
Were you ever as a kid jealous or resent Jewel, your sister, because she did have the bond?
Yes, I do very distinctly remember couldn't figure out, like, he would want her to sit next to him, but not necessarily me.
How did you deal with that?
You know what? I didn't have a memory of it until you just now said it.
Got it.
So I think I just pushed it out. I remember it bothering me, but I don't remember thinking anything beyond it. It just, I could not figure out, like, why is he like her and not me? You know?
That had to be tough
Yeah.
as a kid, because that's literally your childhood, but it's also, again, helped shape who you are. So I know you
Oh,
don't.
yeah. I don't regret it.
Right.
It is who I am. It is my story. It was Shannon's story. But yeah. I'm just gonna start scheduling sessions with you. We're gonna skip. Just skip coffee. How about I buy you coffee? Girl, I'll
buy you coffee.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll do this. We'll get some more scheduled appointments. Coffee appointments. This is great, honestly. Like, you're pulling out things out of me that have been buried. You know, and that I think, you know, as you get seasoned in life, I think you will probably start discovering some things too that you're like, oh, okay, I see where this came from. And it's enlightening. It really is. I think it's empowering too, because now you can fully understand. Well, sometimes it's fully understand the dysfunction you have.
I'm like, and do I want to know?
It can be scary, but yeah, I mean, just fully understand. You know, I know you and I both have a faith system, and now I understand the things that I went through in life and how it was going to turn out. Now, there's things I'm going through life right now, and I won't have that understanding until another 40 years, you know. But yeah, it's been interesting. So,
What do you think, in his own Shannon way, what would he say about the work that you're doing now?
oof. He'd probably say, "You did it, you big horse." I mean, I don't know, but you know, I do. This just feels like the right time to share this piece. I remember talking to my dad. My dad he's so full of wisdom, but he didn't he didn't talk about deep things that were sad. But, you know, he's gonna be that tough dad, I think. And not too long ago, probably about 8 years ago, he was talking to Dad, and he was trying to get me to understand something I was going through in life, and telling me we don't always understand why things happen the way they do, but there's a reason behind why things happen. And he shared with me, he said, you know, when your brother was little, and we didn't know what was wrong with him, and he was having seizures, and all of these things were happening. And he said, you know, I would get to this place where I just would have this feeling come over me, and I would think he's going to be healed, and he's going to touch thousands. And, you know, he said, you know, I had to come to the place to realize the day he died was the day he got healed. And I thought it was going to be here. And he said, and I still haven't figured out why I thought he was going to touch thousands. And I started crying, and I said, I know why. Because of the work that Joel and I do, my sister. I said, Dad, think about all the families we worked with. She's a speech pathologist and a BCBA, and I'm a SPED teacher and a BCBA. I'm like, literally at this point, we're probably pushing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids that we've impacted. And now through this podcast, it's all because of him.
It really is.
And so the answer is there. That is all intact. Everything is there. And yeah.
Give me your hand, because I got to hold your hand when I tell you this. I'm so proud of you. Like, you have no idea the impact you're making. And it screams and it shows to so many people. And I am going to speak on behalf of Shannon that I know he's so proud of you and he thanks you. So please don't ever stop doing what you're doing, because it's so impactful and it's touched me so deeply. And I can't thank you enough for that. Seriously, you're amazing.
Thank you.
I didn't plan to come here to just bawl today.
I said, this is going to be great. Stephanie's so funny. Here we sit. I do. I hope that you were right. I hope I've made him proud.
I know for a fact you have, because you've made me proud.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the question.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I get to ask the rest of them. You don't get to ask anymore because I'm not supposed to be crying. What's one thing Drew has taught you about love or patience that no one else could have ever taught you?
Oh, this one's great. Unconditional love is so hard, but truly worth it when you get to look at somebody and say, your heart is so pure, your heart is so whole, like I cannot live without you. And so, of course, there's the traditional, like, yeah, I've had to learn to be more patient and be more kind. But the lessons that he has taught me and just being able to be compassionate, you truly never know what somebody's going through. Helping be that includer. It shaped me in so many ways that I'm like, thank you, God, that he has autism. How messed up does that sound to say? Oh, yeah, it kind of sounds not so great.
Yeah.
But without his autism, I would not be the person I am. So the gratitude that I have for that, because again, I know God made me his sister for a reason. So I can help him through the hardships, but also he can help me right back.
Yeah. That's very cool. And I love your outlook on that.
It took me a while to get here, I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes I'm like, God, why did you make this so hard on not just me, but my parents, my family? But I've flipped the script and said, no, we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. Do you know how blessed we are?
Yeah. And that's the truth.
It is.
It is the truth.
It is. And I'm so, so, so thankful.
That is awesome. So, you guys are sharing your daily life. That's what it is. And I love seeing it. And I have a question for you. And this is kind of funny. I can't wait to see how you answer it because I'm knowing Drew. But if he had his own rule book for life,
Oh my gosh.
what would be on page 1?
Ooh, okay. Let me think about this for a second.
Of course, when I thought of rule book and I thought of Drew, I thought of all the sports knowledge.
Well, I was gonna say that's really high up there. There's 2 different routes. If we're going funny, yeah, it's gonna be be the biggest sports fan possible.
Yes.
One thing that Drew has taught me, and I think would be the biggest play in his playbook, is you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the best. You have to be your best. Because when you are being your best, that's going to reach you the highest success.
That's pretty cool. And he does have an insane knowledge of sports in general.
We go to my family goes to a lot of sporting events. I grew up going to sporting events. That's what we bonded over. But it's so fun because it's like I have my own personal commentator that if I don't know, I just ask him. I could walk into any stadium not knowing a single thing and leave feeling like an expert because of him.
Now, has he got to meet Travis Kelce?
Not yet.
Okay.
Travis?
That's what I'm thinking.
He can have Travis. I'll take Taylor.
But you guys do go to Drew goes to every home Chief game.
Every home Chief games, they're Royals. And my family's been blessed enough to also travel to different stadiums too.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it's been fun to be kind of fans of all to a certain degree.
Yes.
And be able to bond.
Oh, but he's loyal to his local teams.
Very loyal.
Yeah, very. I love that. What has been, to cap us off, what's been your most viral video? Is it the one you mentioned earlier?
It is.
And so if it's that one, then my next question is going to be, what's been your favorite video that you've posted?
Yeah, my favorite one, it's actually one about sports. And it just goes to show how sports have brought us together and not your quote traditional way. When Drew walks into a stadium, he lights up. Yes, of course, it's because of the atmosphere and getting ready to cheer on your team. But that's his thing. He is able to thrive because he knows so much about it. He's the expert.
He's an expert.
Yes. And so to see him in that light and then share that with me. And unfortunately, from his perspective, I'm the expert at a lot of things. So he doesn't always get to feel like that. But he's like, in that setting, I get to be the teacher for her. So I have a video that showcases some of the games we've gone to and just how much sports have shaped not just our sibling relationship, but our family dynamic. So that's my favorite.
I love that. And it never, I mean, I know the video you're talking about, and it never occurred to me that that did completely flip the script because he's the expert and he truly is the expert. I mean, there's no denying he knows everything that you can imagine.
I don't know where he retains it all. I'm like, where you pulled out, this second string player and you know all about their stats, their family, like all. I'm like, how do you know all of it?
It's amazing. Yeah. It's just like he just stores it all and never forgets it.
Never.
I can't even remember what I ate for breakfast.
Well, we'll do breakfast sometime and then we can remember it.
And we're going to have to because we're going to have to close it off and stop talking at some point. So, yes, I just appreciate you, first off, sharing your life and sharing the beauty of Drew. And I appreciate you being willing to come in and just sit down and have real conversations, because that's what this whole thing is about, is being real. And I see that day after day after day with everything you're doing.
Well, thank you. I know that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. And I know Shannon is too. So to Shannon.
And Drew. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Queued Up. Follow and subscribe to stay queued up for what's next.